This is Lauren Conaway, founder and CEO of Innovate Her KC, bringing you IHKC Live. Very, very excited to be with you here today. And I don't know if you're aware, but my friends, it is Pride Month. It's Pride Month here in KC. It's Pride Month everywhere. And we want to celebrate. But first things first, I want to give a little bit of context. So Pride is really, really important to Innovate Her KC as an organization. We serve diverse individuals from all walks of life, many of them who identify as members of the LGBTQ community. And we are very, very, very proud to be a safe and brave space for individuals like myself, like our guest today, like many, many others. Now, wanted to give you a little bit of history of Pride. And for those of you who do not know the history of Pride, I'm going to start by setting the stage. So back in the 1960s, late 1960s, it was a very hostile time for members of the LGBTQ community. It was illegal to be gay. It was illegal to engage in gay behaviors, congregate at gay bars. This was kind of an interesting fact that I learned today, but many gay bars at this time period were actually owned by the mafia because of the illegal activity that was occurring within these bars. And I thought that was kind of interesting. But some of you may have heard of an incident called the Stonewall Riots that took place in 1969. Stonewall Riots, Stonewall Inn was actually a gay bar in New York, and it had been raided many, many, many times. And one night in New York, a hot and steamy summer night, the police raided this bar. And the folks, the patrons of this bar decided no more. We will take no more of this. And they stood up, and we call this the Stonewall Uprising. We call it the Stonewall Riots. But this sparked off a series of confrontations in the gay community that frequented this bar in this neighborhood and the police. And that, a year later, a year after these incidents took place, many people went to jail. People were harmed. There was a lot of violence, a lot of anger, a lot of hatred. But a year after the Stonewall Riots, on the anniversary, a small community, a small piece of the LGBTQ community came together, and they had their first march. The first Pride marches were very solemn occasions. They are not the fun, glittery, rainbowy endeavors that we think of today. And that is because they were a protest, continued protest, LGBTQ individuals standing up and saying, I deserve to be seen, I deserve to exist, and I deserve to have those that I love about me recognized. It speaks to a very difficult time in our history, but it also speaks to the beauty of the human spirit.
I didn't get that. Could you try again?
Nope.
Okay.
Apparently Siri has been listening to me this whole time. That's awesome. At any rate, Siri's very interested. Sorry about that. But yeah, so the Stonewall Riots kicked off what we now know as the LGBTQ movement, the gay pride movement, and Pride. And so I just wanted to give a little bit of context there. We have had Innovate Her KC trivia nights, and one of the answers to our trivia nights, both times actually, it talked about a revolutionary woman by the name of Martha P. Johnson. And fun fact, our guest today, who you're going to meet later, was actually one of the few people who could answer this question correctly. But Marsha P. Johnson was an activist and drag queen who is here's the thing, I find this so interesting. Many people credit her with kicking off the Stonewall Riots. They claim that she threw the shot glass heard round the world that kicked off the violence and the protests for the ensuing nights and weeks and years. And she claims that it wasn't her, that she didn't do it. But many, many people say that she did. I'm not here to argue with her, but I am here to lift her up. We have to remember those who came before us and those who fought for our freedoms. And I just wanted to take a moment to acknowledge the beauty of Marsha P. Johnson, one of our predecessors. I consider her to be an Innovate Her, and I hope that she would be honored. So real quickly, I just want to talk a little bit about why it's so important that we have these conversations and we talk about the history of Pride. So many folks know, but a lot of folks don't know the fact that Innovate Her KC was founded as a woman-forward organization, and we still are that, absolutely. But over time, we have evolved to become more and more inclusive. We're all about inclusivity. Who can we bring along the journey? Who can we amplify, celebrate? Who can we welcome as members? And again, create those safe and brave spaces. We're very, very proud to do this work within the community. And so we welcome gender minorities. So when you hear me talk about Innovate Her KC, I talk about women plus leaders. I talk about women and individuals of marginalized gender experience. I talk about women and gender minorities. And that's a really, really important piece of our journey. It's very important to me. As I said, I identify as a member of the LGBTQ community. I always have. And it's one of those things that I feel that inclusion makes us stronger. And there is a lot of commonality in very gendered discrimination that women and gender minorities experience. Are our experiences identical? Absolutely not. I would never say that they were. But I will say that we can find strength in supporting each other along the way. And that is an extremely key piece of Innovate Her KC to me. It extends to racial background, it extends to religion, it extends to all of it. If you are a gender minority and you feel that you have been discriminated against, you've experienced bigotry, we want to be here for you. We want to be welcoming and we want to be inclusive. And it's so much so that it's one of our founding values. And so I just want to take a moment to thank you, especially to those of you who are members of the LGBTQ community, who are members of Innovate Her KC, who see that you are welcomed, who come to our space and connect with our members. You are us and we are you, and we are very, very proud to claim you. Now, that was my soapbox. And so I'm going to step off of it for just a moment, and I'm going to bring up the fabulous Cynthia Fales. Many of you know her. She is the executive producer of the IHKC Live experience. Welcome, Cynthia. How are you today?
Hey. I am.
You am?
I am.
Okay.
Yeah. It's been a day. It's been a day.
Well, so are you excited to have this conversation today?
Absolutely. I think all of the conversations that we have on here are necessary in elevating voices that are often squashed. And I love that we're having this conversation tonight. So, yeah.
Well, and I mean, that's what we're all about. Like, how do we encourage, amplify, champion, sponsor, whatever you want to call it?
Mm-hmm.
How do we take those marginalized leaders who are fantastically talented and give them the boost they need to thrive? Like that,
Yep.
That's the whole deal. And so I'm very glad to be having this conversation. I'm very glad to be having it with people like you and like our guest. So I said that I wanted to do this a little bit out of order today, and I'm still like trying to figure out how this is going to work. But I want to talk about today's guest. Today's guest is a human being who is extraordinarily important to me personally, but also, and I'm seeing like the awe face. Y'all can't see it, but I can. So we bring him up. But so Max Wilde has been a part of the innovator journey since almost our very, very beginning. One of our first members, a huge champion, and has kind of seen a bit of our evolution. But Max has also done some evolution of their own. And I want to shine a light on that because Max is actually responsible for the epiphany of gender inclusivity for Innovate Her KC and me. Max came out as non-binary and transgender, and asked me a while back, now that I no longer identify as a woman, am I welcome in Innovate Her KC? And I had to give that a lot of thought because for me, Innovate Her KC had been such a women-focused, women-forward organization that I'm going to be honest, it speaks of my privilege that it just hadn't occurred to me to have that conversation in my head and to figure out, is this something that we want to be a part of our DNA, a part of our very fabric? And so I thought long and hard about it. And I was thinking about Max and their journey. And I was thinking about my friend Lee and his journey. And I was seeing up close and personal these friends come to their truths and understand who they were more fundamentally. And I wanted to be a part of that. But more importantly, I wanted Innovator to be a part of that. I thought it was important to show that support and that envelopment and that love. And so I had to have a really like a come to grips conversation with myself where it was like, is the woman piece the important part? Or is it the inclusion piece that we're prioritizing here? Now, I've told Max this, I've told Lee, I've told any of our members who do not strictly identify as cisgender women. The fact is we center the experiences of women. I do not apologize for that. That will probably not change, never say never. But that's a large portion of what we put out into the world. It's how we were founded. But that being said, we have really tried to intentionally make individuals like Max, who you are about to meet, an integral part of our journey. Like, let us talk about this inclusivity piece. Let us talk about honoring the divine and the beauty in human beings who encompass all measures of the gender spectrum. What can we do in support of that? And so I'm gonna ask Cynthia to bring Max up, and I'm gonna say thank you to Max for being such a huge pivotal part of who Innovate Her is. Thank you for being my friend. Thank you for everything. So hi.
Hi, everybody. I want you all to know that I'm going to try to not cry. So that's going to be my goal.
Just let it flow. Just let it flow.
I've cried multiple times.
Cry, okay, I just want or going to make me cry. So
well, I do have a gift, but don't you worry. I have cried on here many times. It's fine. Well, so welcome, and really, really excited to dive deeply into your story. But first things first, I do believe that Cynthia might have some questions for us.
Always have the quirky questions ready.
You're so good at this.
Am I?
Yeah.
Max, you're not nervous, are you? Okay, good.
So just context to people in the stream, both Cynthia and Lauren saw me pitch for the Porterhouse KC last night. So any nervousness that I may have, I had.
You're fine. You knocked it all out last night. Incidentally, you did an incredible job, and I am going to ask you about that experience a little later. But yeah, it was a trip watching you pitch. It was fabulous. Don't you think, Cynthia?
Yeah, I sent them a message right after it was done. So
yeah. Well done.
All right. Ready?
Let's do the thing.
Okay. First question is probably the easiest question. That's usually how I start. But what animal would be the biggest party animal of the bunch?
Ooh. Okay.
Ooh, I love this. Biggest party animal.
Uh-huh.
Wait a minute. I'm trying to think of like super social animals.
Uh-huh. Is it always the super social that is the biggest party?
I mean, better than the loners or the true assholes, which, as we determined last session, were geese. That was my answer. I think that the biggest asshole animals will be geese.
Yeah.
Okay. Biggest party animals.
What do you think, Max?
I'm trying to think of animals that maybe dance. Because have you ever seen any of those videos where they are dancing?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
No specific animal comes to mind, but I know.
But I'm totally no. I got one. Okay. Check this out. So there are those spiders that lift up their arms and dance around back and forth. You can't see it because of the way, but yeah, they go like this. So maybe it's them. Oh, but I did also think of ants. Because they have the best party houses. It's a house that just goes on in tunnels forever.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think? And they're very social. And they every party would be 2 million ants. So it's gotta be wild and crazy.
This is probably telling of my Instagram viewing history, but I'm gonna probably say alpacas, because if you guys have ever seen them, they get zoomies and they're jumping and they're just they're doing all sorts of stuff.
Okay. That's a much better answer than mine. All right, I'm with you.
And they're animals, so they have a built-in party all the time.
Nice.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Okay. I don't have an answer for that. So
I will buy it.
That would be harder than you letting.
Sold.
Was it? It was. Glad I don't have to answer it. Okay, second question.
I know. Incidentally, you're getting off so easy the next one.
Sure. I just don't have an answer for that one.
Somehow you always skate with not answering the first one.
My
And
job
we're
is
gonna-
to
we're gonna
ask the
talk about that.
questions and to dig deeper. That's my job.
Fine.
All right, next
Do
question.
it.
If you could be a fly on the wall anywhere, who would you want to listen in on?
Can I say like the Illuminati?
Ooh.
I don't know. Like I feel as though the things that happen in secret are
Uh-huh.
the things that you really want to pay attention to. So
I
like
don't want to
stuff-
know.
I mean, I kind of do though. I want to know everything, even if it's bad, because I'm like, well, if you know, you can combat it, you can work against it. But I feel like I would use this power for evil, to sit in on like some kind of. I am positive that there are like secret society cabals and stuff like that out there. I'm 100% sure that that's the case. We're not going to talk about chemtrails or anything. It's not that serious, but I do believe in like secret societies.
Uh-huh.
And so I would want to sit on a like a secret society meeting.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I have a goofier answer.
Yeah, go. Let's hear the goofy. I just sound like a paranoid nut job, and I'm not.
I would want to be a fly on the wall in like the writer's room of like Sharknado and those kind of movies.
Nice.
Oh my gosh, that would be the
Dead
best.
I love it.
What if they did this? And you're just like,
Yeah. You know what I think they need to do? This just popped into my head. But they haven't done a movie about like a manticore. They need to do a movie about like the mythological creatures that nobody thinks to cover. But
There was a manticore in a Disney movie, though.
in a movie though, but it wasn't
Yeah.
like a feature. Was
Okay.
it?
No,
in the
but
movie.
it was in there.
wait, what movie is Manticore?
It was Onward.
Scorpions.
Oh, I haven't seen that one yet.
Oh no, was it? Okay.
Onward.
Never mind then. So
Yep.
wait. I was trying to remember manticore. Scorpion's tail, lion's body, eagle's head. Yes?
Something like that. Yeah.
Okay. All right. If anybody in the comments knows, like, please feel free to tell us because I'm just
Somebody's
talking out
got
my
it
ass
somewhere. Right? I'll Google that once I hop off of this.
Cynthia's gonna come back and be like, actually, Lauren, because he will come back later.
A manticore is. No.
Yeah.
I think if I could be a fly on the wall anywhere, I would probably want to just sit in the living room of the Obamas and just listen to the conversations that they have, because I feel like they're normal people like the rest of us.
What do you think they would be listening to in the background? Like, I feel like they're a soft music in the background kind of couple.
I don't think they are.
You don't?
No, I feel like they
Why?
would probably be watching like Sharknado, honestly.
I do think I remember. I think I remember President Obama liking Modern Family.
Yeah.
I remember reading that somewhere.
See,
All
there
right.
we go. Also, look, Stephanie, thank you.
Yes, Stephanie
A manticore.
Hey, look. Oh no, it's the head of a man.
Body of a lion, tail of a dragon, or a scorpion.
2 out of 3.
Manticore. There it is.
Coming in clutch, Stephanie Campbell.
Yep, we love it. We love it. Okay.
All right. So
Final question. It's not really quirky,
okay.
but I am curious. What new thing would you love to try?
Oh, I have an easy answer for this because
Okay.
my friend bought me a book and I have yet to actually do anything with it, but I would love to try macrame. Like the knots.
Oh
Yeah.
Out of the knots.
for sure.
I'm neurodivergent. I don't know if we'll talk about that later, but I need to be doing something while watching a thing. So
Mhm.
I feel like macrame would be the perfect amount of like doing something with my hands, but I don't have to pay as much attention to it, so I can
Yeah.
do both.
Yeah. Well, and I've heard that as like a coping strategy for folks who are neurodivergent. But just so you know, like this is a tip for all of the listeners at home. But I used to work for Boeing, and I worked at their conference center, and they had done studies that found that anybody who was listening passively to like a speaker or something like that, if you engage your hands in mindless activity, it actually helps you focus better. And so when we would run conferences out of the Boeing Leadership Center, every table I would like dump, like silly putty and like Lego blocks and things, like all of the little toy fidget spinners, all of the little things that you could play with, because apparently keeping your hands occupied while in a mindless kind of, like a macrame, takes a little bit of attention, but not too much kind of activity, it actually helps you focus. So, fun fact.
I do that when I speak.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It does kind of help like direct your energy a little bit.
I usually, like, if I don't have a clicker in my hand, I usually have like a pen or something in my hand.
Yeah.
And it helps me to. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
Good tip. I like that.
All right. Okay.
Lauren, what's your answer?
Oh, Lord. I was hoping that we would forget.
See how she tried to like skate away?
Dang it.
No, it's not happening.
So I feel like I want to answer like something super adventurous, but I'm not really feeling that tonight. It's a very low spoons kind of day, so I'm gonna say it's probably something with cooking. Aaron and I just went for Father's Day. We don't have children per se, but we have fur babies, so we just like get each other fun, we just do fun stuff. But for Father's Day, I took him to Williams Sonoma, and we were looking at like all the really cool stuff that we can't afford, like the pasta extruder and the sausage maker, and like, so I really want to try that kind of stuff, like buying very specialized equipment in my cooking and doing really specialized cooking.
Nice.
Make sense?
Yeah.
There you go. How about you?
I don't know. I was looking for ideas, so
you're not gonna get away with that if you're gonna hold me to
well,
it.
I mean, like, here's the thing. For me, I'm one of those people that if I see it and it piques my interest and I can figure out a way to try it, I will try it, even if it's a catastrophe. I will try it. So what? Like,
I
give me some ideas.
Not about you, but I need to tell Max. I need to tell you that Cynthia is the proud owner of a ridiculous amount of as seen on TV devices. We established this at another one of these. Is that a piece of that, Cynthia? Like you just see something interesting and you're like, I'm going to try it.
Absolutely.
Okay, so then what's the weirdest thing you have tried then?
Ooh, the weirdest thing?
I know. I'm the one on here, but I'm going to ask you a question. How about that?
I like it. Got his fair play, baby.
The weirdest, like, as seen on TV thing, or just thing, period?
Like, activity.
Honestly, I think it's probably the earwax cleaner, like the.
I remember you telling me about that. We were so interested in this. We were like, does it work? Talk to us about how
it does work.
And we all want one.
Has a camera on the end of it and everything, Max. It's weird. That's probably the weirdest.
All right. I mean, eyes.
Yeah, works for me.
Yeah. Let's ask those that are watching if there's something that you'd like to try. Drop it in the comments. That way I can get some more ideas. Because I'm really interested. I just like exploring.
We need to help Cynthia do weird things.
I just like exploring the world.
That's just a fun sentence for me to say.
There you go.
All right. Well, that was good. I liked that.
Awesome.
I do still want to come over at some point and play. Like, we're gonna sterilize it really well, but I want to play with your
Absolutely
ear
not. No, it's not. No. That's weird.
It is. You're gonna buy it? That's not the weird part. No. All right, I guess that's true. I guess letting someone else use your
That's like letting somebody use your toothbrush.
All right,
I'll just buy you one.
That is true. I had somebody ask me a while back. They were like, "Do you and Aaron use the same toothbrush?" I'm like, "No, never. Not one time. That's gross."
Awesome. Well, y'all have a lot of good stuff to get to, so I'm gonna exit into the back and enjoy the convo, people.
You're gonna melt into the ether. Oh, there she went. We miss you. We miss you, Cynthia. So, hi, friend. How are you? I am so glad to have you here. I'm so proud. And I'm gonna ask the first softball question. Tell us about your journey. Let's hear it.
Ooh,
I know it's a good one.
the literally most open-ended question someone can.
It is deliberately so, and I love the fact that you picked up on that. That's actually how I start my Startup Hustle episodes, and it's because you learn a lot, not just from what people say, but how they interpret the question, right?
Right, that's a good point. Well,
Yeah.
we're here because, you know, I am non-binary, trans, and queer, so I'm going to really hit that because we could talk a long time about my journey if we wanted to. But so I know that a lot of trans and people often know very young that they are trans. I really can't say the same. I really didn't have that kind of perception that early on that I wasn't a girl. I was definitely a tomboy, I would say, but that is, you know, that doesn't inherently mean anything, I don't think. I really think that I had the first beginning inklings in high school, actually. And my friend group at the time was like, well, you're not really a girl, but you're not really a boy either. You're a third gender. Because again, this is in the 2000s, mid 2000s. And there, you know, that language didn't exist yet.
It wasn't unheard of at that time, but it certainly wasn't a part of the popular consciousness, like, at all, right?
Well, and I mean, prior to Elliot Page, name a trans masculine person.
Yeah.
Oh wait, you kind of can't.
Chastity Bono is the only one that I can think of, and I'm pretty sure I just dead named him, which makes me feel really shitty, but I don't remember what the new name is. That was like the first. Cher's son was like the first.
Really?
Really public.
Today I learned. Seriously, I did not.
Yeah. Cher's son. And yeah, but it was certainly not a conversation that was being had very often. So you have this kind of dawning realization that something isn't right. Did it feel like, talk to us about what it felt like?
In what way? Like what felt like?
Just coming to a deeper understanding of your own gender experience.
So I've talked a little bit about this on, I don't know if she's watching right now, but I talked very much in depth about this on Kristen Thomas's podcast. So if you want to hear more in depth, I definitely recommend that. But I actually came to it through like age regression type of things where I was like in the kind of like mentally like really delving into my inner child. This is in my mid to late 20s.
Yeah.
My inner child was a boy and I didn't really know how to interpret that. And so I was really trying to experience like a masculine childhood in this like container that I felt was safe and vulnerable. And the more that I explored that again in this vulnerable little container, I realized that that isn't just here. This is throughout. So like I sometimes had that inner child that was like a girl and sometimes was a boy. And so it was like that kind of, which again, I can't really think of very many people who can really say that that is part of their journey, but it was for me. And
yeah.
And I was married at the time. Like I was like, again, I was in my late 20s, very, you know, like late, at least now, although it's not, you know, obviously unheard of in our generation because some of this language wasn't there and some of this awareness wasn't there.
Yeah.
But through that, and I want to say it was only, you know, you talked just a little bit about my story. I want to say I like around late 2018, early 2019, did I really to be public about it. So it has not been that long. But there was inklings and there was what trans people, we like to call egg moments, which is when we're still in our egg and we haven't cracked our egg and become our true selves yet. And you're like, and then you look back in retrospect and you're like, really, that wasn't a dead giveaway? You not being a guy at Halloween every year wasn't a giveaway? You not doing this, you know, or this and this and this? You didn't fit, but you're still cis though, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, you and I have talked about the fact that like when I was in high school, I went through a period of time where I asked people to call me Lee, and I dressed in boys' clothes and I wore boy cologne, and like that was me kind of exploring my gender identity. Now I have always identified as a woman, And I do have flashes of what I consider, I prefer the term gender fluid. That's usually what I use about myself. I identify predominantly as a woman, but I allow myself a little bit of room to play, because the fact is, gender is a spectrum. And it is a social construct. It is not a biological imperative. And, I think that I think that very few people are as binary as we tend to believe, right? We are conditioned to believe in the binary. I do not believe that that is our natural state. So just wanted to say that. But so you have come out. And I know that you have been doing some really significant emotional work, connecting with the community around you. You changed your name, and I was so proud. I remember you announcing this in the Innovate Her KC group, and I just remember like my face just like lit up, because your name was such an integral part of this journey. Like, I remember you feeling triumphant, or at least that's what it seemed on the outside. And so talk to us about that process. What was it like to be able to kind of self-actualize your own identity in that way?
You're really right, because a name is such a powerful thing. That is such an inherent part of our identity. We cannot separate those things.
Yeah.
And for me, I was going, as Max. I still had my birth name, but when I went back to college, actually, in the back of my mind, I'm like, I want my degree to say Max. I don't want it to have my dead name on it. I don't want to have to look at my dead name every time I'm looking at my degree.
Yeah.
And so I had a kind of built-in like deadline, so to speak. And luckily, so I first started being publicly Max, and one of those supportive spaces was All Souls Unitarian Universalist Church. Unitarians are quite progressive. And somebody through there was an attorney who helped pro bono me through that legal process. So it was interesting. COVID actually often made things more complicated, but in the legal process, I didn't have to appear in court because of COVID. So my process was a little bit different than some other trans people, but getting that court order, that's when I shared it out. But little did I know, that was kind of like the beginning, because I had to go, oh, wait, because of COVID, Social Security office wouldn't let me show up in person. They wanted me to mail them my driver's license. So I was driving around for a couple of weeks without a driver's license. I'm like,
allegedly.
Well, on the phone, I was like, so you are asking me to send you my only legal form of ID that I have to carry on me while I drive? Said yes. And then I'm like, y'all are dumb.
Well, here's the thing. I want to take a moment, and I want to acknowledge that. And so the fact is, and I don't have an incredible amount of stats on this, and maybe you can provide more context or not, but the fact is, there are roadblocks thrown up at every step along the journey as you attempt to transition to your gender identity, to the gender identity that you are. And so that's, that could be choosing a new name for yourself and having that legally tendered. That could mean changing your birth certificate to reflect your true gender rather than your assigned gender at birth. And so yeah, like there, at every step in the process, you have to be very committed, and you have to be very, very ready to circumvent obstacles for a system that was not at all built for this and is not at all supportive of these kinds of changes, right? So you're hitting resistance everywhere you go, I would imagine.
Well, and cisgender people don't even see these barriers, because experience them. I have so many stories, probably more than we could even talk about in this, but it prevented me from being approved for a rental home when I got divorced, because even though my Social Security didn't change, my date of birth didn't change, none of those things changed, but now Max didn't have a credit history. Max didn't have a background check. So it actually prevented me from renting. It prevented me from being able to get my own child's birth certificate. So I'm a parent, and I was apparently impersonating myself because I was my previous legal name on when he was born.
Right.
And so my ID didn't match, even though I brought them my birth certificate, which has my birth name on it, the court order, and my current, with that license that has Max on it, and that wasn't enough documentation. I had to go fish out my old driver's license with my dead name on it just to get his birth certificate to enroll him in school this year. It was, so there's so many layers, and that's not, like I said, that's really scratching the surface, and they're all invisible until you hit up against them. And they're real barriers. And I didn't even change my sex marker. I haven't changed my birth certificate. I might not be able to do that because I was born in Florida, and the laws in Florida are so restrictive.
Not the friendliest state for transgender individuals, for certain. That's a pisser. Well, and it's just something that I want to bring home for the audience. Like, I feel as though the public consciousness, many seem to feel that, oh, this is just a whim, it's just a choice, they just want attention. And it's like, nobody is gonna go through all of the bullshit that you have to go through. Like, oh, they just want to get into the bathrooms to see ladies pee. And it's like, no human being is going to subject themselves to the kind of indignities and bullshit and administrative crap that folks who are actively, intentionally changing their gender, to match their actual gender. Nobody's going to go through that crap if they don't have to, if it is not an imperative, if it is not is so important to who they are that they're willing to stomach all of this BS so that they can finally live their true selves, right? I'm just like, please stop saying that. You sound like an idiot when you make that assumption. Nobody's doing this, So my heart is with you, my friend. Like, I know that it has been a nightmare at times, but I really, really want to put a positive, spin on it. Like, how do you feel? You are living as yourself. You are insisting upon your pronouns and acting as an advocate for who you are. What has that piece of the journey been like? I really hope you say it was affirming.
So I will, because I'm from Max Wilde Stories, I'll illustrate it with a story. So 2 weeks ago was Kansas City's Pride Parade and Festival. And, I know a lot of people that are in the trans and queer community who are like, we don't feel like celebrating this year. And I think that's a very valid viewpoint to have. But I have a 3-year-old, and it was his third Pride Parade. And he's at the age where he's really getting into it. And I was never brought to that as a kid. Not that my parents were, bigoted per se, but like they didn't see it as a priority to show me diversity, I think, like that. And just, I want him to know that, like, this is who I am, and that, I am happy in my skin. I am comfortable in my skin. And the more that I do that, and I model that for not just my son, but for trans youth and queer youth, as well, just the better things will be. Things are hard for me, but I see a lot of younger kids. So I do some work sometimes with a trans youth support group, and I see these kids going through similar things, but at a younger age. And at some points it's heartbreaking, but it's also just, wow, you're getting some opportunities I really wish that I had at that age. And to me, I'm happy. It's compersion. Being happy that they are getting those opportunities, and they're getting to see, happy, thriving queer adults.
Well, it has been an honor to watch your journey. Like, I mean, you and I have known each other for a while. Like, you actually came, I think, to the very, very first IHKC official monthly meetup. Like, we had meetups before, but this was the first time we actually called it that. And I just, watching you, forgive this term because it feels so squicky to me, but watching you blossom has been it's been a real honor, like, and a privilege. And I've just been very, very happy to be a testament to it. Now, you said something really interesting in there. And I think that it's prudent to share the fact to our watchers, prudent to share the fact that transgender youth, gender nonconforming youth experience mental distress, including anxiety, depression, suicidal ideation. They experience it at a rate of 4 times higher than their cisgender identifying peers. That's a problem. And it has a lot of potential solutions. It has a lot of causes. It can be internal, it can be external. Society saying you're not right, laws saying we don't support your ability to exist or live how you want to live. Like there are any number of reasons that this is the case. But one of the things that, and Max, you and I have talked about this, one of the things about Pride is like, Pride is, yes, it is absolutely a time to celebrate. Let us celebrate. Rainbows, rainbows, rainbows. Yay. But it is also a time to get really reflective and to think about the Stonewall riots that I just talked about and all of those who have fought so hard for the rights of the LGBTQ community, who have stood up and said, hey, we are people. We deserve to be seen, heard, valued. We deserve to be able to thrive. We deserve to be able to love who we love. And so I want to ask you, beyond Pride, like, gay people still exist in July and August. Like I do the same thing with women in March. I'm like, we're still here in April, but when we're talking about Pride, like what are some really meaningful ways that we can support the community? I know that you spend your time, you volunteer with a transgender youth group, but what are some other ways that we can meaningfully support the LGBTQ community?
So there are a few ways. I feel like something very simple and easy that literally anyone can do. It takes almost no like labor on a cisgender, straight person's part, is when you hear somebody being misgendered or, you go to bat for them. You know how exhausting that is for me to do? I stopped doing it. I literally have stopped doing it. So that's something very easy. Like being intentional about using gender neutral language. Again, it does not. I'm going to start you in with the little things.
Yeah.
Because we see those things. We, as trans and queer people, we see those things and we do appreciate those things.
Yeah.
But
I remember you actually, so you were looking for a job at Cat Call Collective. And so I reached out to Kelsey McKinney, who's the editor-in-chief, I believe. And you had asked me for a vouch. And so I sent one to her. And I sent you the screenshot just to be like, hey, we had this conversation. And you were really, really excited. And I was like, why are you excited? But you were excited because we were using your pronoun. We were saying they. And it was like, to us, it was just like Max's pronoun is they. We're going to say they. But I just remember how your reaction was actually very frustrating to me because I was like, this should be the norm. Like you have stood up and said, this is how I would like to be referred to. And for me, it's just a matter of respect. Like, I don't care. People are like, I don't agree with, and I'm like, it doesn't matter if you agree or not. Like, it's a fact of nature. And all Max said was call me this. So I'm going to call you this. It's not a hard thing to do. And I don't understand the resistance, but your reaction was very telling to me. You should not have been as happy as you were because it should have just been mundane, right? Yeah. Are you okay? Am I making you cry? I'm sorry. No. I love you so much.
No, it's true because this is something that's again, cisgender people tend to take for granted. And I mean, yeah, it's like you said, it's so minuscule, but if I could tell you how often I am misgendered on a daily basis.
Yeah.
Like I said, I stopped correcting people because, for one, I'm 4 genders stacked on top of each other in a trench coat at all times. So.
Shut up. I can't believe you just said that out loud. I love that. All right. Now that's how I'm going to be introducing you. I just hope you know that.
Yeah.
Forever. All right. Well, so definitely and that speaks to one of our IHKC values is when someone tells you their story, believe them. When somebody tells you about their history, when someone tells you about their identity, the fact is any other thing but just believing, that's an asshole move. It just, believe. It's fine. It doesn't hurt you at all. And it helps the individual, if you believe their story, if you believe who they are, they feel seen. So that's a big piece of it. I'm going to say, seek out and support LGBTQ owned business. We just had our monthly meetup at Service Brewery. It's innovator owned, located in Shawnee, Kansas. Delicious brews. But that is a way that we can meaningfully support our community, prioritize supporting historically excluded, disenfranchised founders. And we say that about women, and we say that about individuals of color and all of that. But, seek out those opportunities. What else? What else we got?
Well, there's definitely some great organizations around to support. I'm gonna name drop.
Yeah.
I think that a lot of people probably know the work that KC Transformations does, but if you're not aware, they really are passing the torch and really developing leadership among trans and gender nonconforming youth.
Yeah.
Particularly BIPOC, trans people. I think that is really important for us to really give them those tools to flourish, because they're dealing with a lot.
Yeah.
Kids are already dealing with a lot. And then you go ahead and then they're being used as pawns in this literally politicized, ploy that doesn't affect anybody, other than that, them and their families.
Yeah.
And there's also, so I do some work with transitional justice.
That's Lee Zuvinich, who named Innovate Her KC, and he hates that I bring that up, and I do not care. It's a part of our story.
That he
bitches at me every time. He's like, "Why do you tell people that?" And I'm like, "Because you named us. Leave me alone."
But so the reality is that a lot of people probably don't realize is this legislation impacts us very deeply. We have to have conversations with, our families, our partners about, and we can't sit and wait around for courts to do the right thing, right? That's the reality, especially when you have, you talked about the high suicide rates of trans youth. Like, if I had, again, I'm an adult, and I'm having to have these same conversations. Is it safe for me to be in the Midwest? And the answer is increasingly, no, it's not. It is not.
So Kansas City, Missouri is actually the capital for the murder of Black transgender women. There you go. Transgender women of color. That's the phrase. Thank you. But yeah, we actually had a really, really scary run of murders of BIPOC transgender women. And it's a really scary climate. And I mean, transitional justice. So Lee founded that for the folks who are like, hey, I need gender affirming care and I need to feel safe. I need to get out of here. And we've reached that point. We reached that point long ago where the climate became increasingly dangerous. So yeah, folks know that is a very, very real concern and issue. And so we're going to ask you, throw your money at grassroots organizations like Transitional Justice, Transformations KC, that's innovator led. Make sure that you're supporting these grassroots organizations that are empowering and activating for the LGBTQ community, specifically the transgender community, who are dealing with some pretty significant legislative attacks. This is institutionally backed bigotry. It's shitty science. It's institutionally backed bigotry. And I'm sick of it. And I'm saying it right now. Innovate Her KC doesn't enjoy this bullshit at all. Knock it off, Missouri. Stop it. Anyway.
I actually had that conversation with my son's dad 2 years ago. I don't think he, again, cisgender people don't, we've seen the writing on the wall as trans and queer people for a long time. And I told my son's dad, I'm like, it's going to be unsafe for me to remain. We need to make plans because we co-parent. We're divorced and we co-parent. We need to make plans to leave. And again, I was not believed. And then now I'm like, oh, this is what's going on. Now do you want to believe me? Now do you want to talk about a plan? And it's not just that individual specifically, but it's I feel like it was really felt like being gaslit for years when the legislation was we're going to ban trans girls in sports and we're going to ban gender affirming care for minors and and they're getting their surgeries at 10 years old, which is complete BS, right?
Not true. It's not at all true.
This all
bad science.
Right. This rhetoric always escalates and it always leads to these bad outcomes for people, especially in the Midwest where I'm very, very much the minority here, So, so we're voting alone is not going to do it. I know we voted yesterday, but that we're outnumbered here. We have to understand that only goes so far. So you really help people to feel safe develop. I think like a lot of that is also like really investing in our youth as well.
Yeah.
But like I think it goes both ways. Like help people find a safe place to be themselves and be authentic, access care, and then invest in our youth. So that's what.
Yeah, well, and I mean that's a really good start. And I mean there are definitely some organizations that you can connect with. But friends, above all, do something, say something. Like I mean, even if it's the smallest infinitesimal thing, like if that's what you're capable of doing, fine, do it. Write to your Congress people. Write to, I throw $5 at Transformations KC. Like even if it's do something. And I mean, I say this on behalf of any marginalized community, but in particular, right now, the transgender community is under attack. Avid, intentional, strategic, institutional, as well as political and personal attack. And that's got to be a really scary thing. And so I'm asking you, if you believe in Innovate Her KC and if you believe in inclusivity, help be a part of the change. Help understand that gender discrimination affects so many of us in so many different ways. But right now, our priority, the fire, is right over here. It's on the transgender community. And if that means that we need to speak up harder, that's what that means. So we have gone over time, and I'm sure that Cynthia has not like motioned at me that I have seen, but I'm sure that she's like, all right, lady, wrap it up. But I do just want to, Max, I just want to say thank you. I understand what I asked of you today. Like this is emotional labor, and I'm asking you to do it on behalf of our audience. And I'm very grateful that you said yes. And just know that we're here for you. We love you. Innovate Her does and will always embrace you.
I mean, so much, honestly. I feel like there's so many things we could have talked about.
I know, it's not enough time. Well, and I talked to Shania Crowley, who she leads the Rally for Transgender Lives. I talked to her earlier today about this, and I was like, yeah, we're going to continue the conversation beyond June, because again, gay people are still here in July. So we're going to continue the conversation for sure.
I think August is LGBTQ History Month.
Yeah. Okay. So Cynthia, did you hear that, executive producer?
It might have been October. It's a month in the fall.
Well, we can figure out when it is, but we do tend to align our programming around identity months where we can. So really, really quickly, I want to thank you, Max. I want to bring Cynthia back up because we're getting ready to close it out. She's going to be so proud of me, friends. I wrote down the events that we have coming up. I never do that. I always have confidence in my memory, and then I fail every time. So coming up, so Innovate Her KC is going to be involved with the Latina Leadership Summit put on by the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. That is on June 28th. We would love to see you there. Even if you do not identify as Hispanic, Latinx, Latina, that's cool. There's still a lot to learn. You can find the information on Eventbrite or the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce Facebook page, I believe. Then we have on the 5th. Now, okay, I need you all to understand this. We moved our monthly meetups. Our monthly meetups are always the first Tuesday of the month, except when they're not. So the first Tuesday of July this year is July 4th. And I feel like there are other things going on that day. So we're going to be having our monthly meetup July 5th. That is a Wednesday, July 5th. I'm so scared that people are going to show up on like Tuesday. I'm so scared. But July 5th, we're having our monthly meetup. Now, if you were not aware, July is Disability Awareness Month. So we're going to be having some conversations around neurodivergence, particularly in entrepreneurs. We're also going to be at the Golden Scoop for our monthly meetup. They are a nonprofit ice cream shop that employs folks with disabilities with dignity, without exploitation. And we love that about them. It is also innovator led. So we're going to have them come out and talk about their journey. But that's going to be our monthly meetup. It is a coffee. They do have coffee items, but we are also really excited to eat some ice cream for breakfast. And there's no judgment. So we would love to see you there. On 7/12, we have our upcoming Keystone session. That's where we'll be talking about the neurodivergent entrepreneur. And then on August 1st, we are going to have our next monthly meetup. And it's actually going to be at Minarca, which is an art gallery owned by Vanya Soto. And she's going to be taking us through her new gallery space. And we'll have some fun. I do not have that information posted yet because I'm still waiting to confirm some details with sponsors and stuff like that. So just bear with me. I will get the information posted and shared out as soon as I can. There. How did you like that, Cynthia? Are you very proud?
I'm excited for two reasons. First, because you had everything documented and ready to go. And second, because you and Max have matching Post-it notes and you just can't plan for that kind of stuff.
What does your Post-it say, Max? I couldn't see what it said.
I just wrote down the events because I also want to point out that affogatos are coffee and ice cream at the same time. So.
Oh, challenge accepted. That's happening. And I hope that you accept that challenge, dear listeners and watchers. Join us out here. That'll be
What's
fun.
the date again? July
5th. Wait, I went too far. Hold on. July 5th, not 4th, 5th.
Yeah, there it is.
Okay. I am like,
Awesome.
I've had like white terror moments where I'm like, everybody's going to forget because I've been so strong. It's the first Tuesday of the month.
Wait, Lauren. You said white terror, and I was like,
white knuckle terror. Did I not say knuckle? I meant
you
to.
missed knuckle. No, you left that out completely. So just heads up.
I feel as though maybe we should end on that note.
I think so.
Does that mean I'm just like done?
No. This was a great chat, and I can't wait for the continuation for part 2, part 3, part 4, however many parts it takes for us to continue to amplify and elevate, because it's super important. So if you viewers got as much from this as I did, please make sure that you like and share this video with anybody that you think needs to see it and will find value in it. And as always, make sure that you subscribe to All Things IHKC, and we'll see you on July 5th. Right?
That's right.
All right.
Well done. Max, isn't she so good at that? That's why I asked her to do it. I'm like, can you do it? I don't want to.
Oh, it's really that she doesn't want to.
Because I'm bad at it, and you're so good at it. It's recognized incompetence. What can I say?
What would you say, Max?
So you have a radio voice.
I do.
Voice.
It's a super on-air personality. Yeah.
Cynthia Fails coming at you live from the Midnight Train Express. I feel like that I don't even know. All right, when I was in college, I had a radio show, and it was L Train and the Midnight Express, and I absolutely expect you all to judge me for that because I named it.
Nope.
Named it the L Train.
L Train and the Midnight Express.
That is hella queer, by the way.
Oh, it's so shameful. Okay, on that note. Good night, guys.
Right.